I'm not going to present a PowerPoint to you that has slides. But I decided intentionally today that I wanted to speak to you from my heart. I wanted to connect with you at a level of only educators can do. As only individuals in this room assembled who have been assigned the task or who have chosen the course of action to make a difference in the lives of children. So ladies and gentlemen, get comfortable as I have the opportunity to talk to you and begin my process of defining the level of urgency needed as we talk about the aspect of our KidStrong conference. Now in this room are assembled a variety of different individuals from a variety of different positions, from the arena of mental health, to nursing, to teachers, spans the gamut in terms of attendance officers. You all represent a variety of different formal positions. But the common denominator that brings us all together, and I want you to view yourself as such, you are leaders of children. You are leaders of children because you have chosen a profession that now more than ever requires dedication, engagement in terms of mind, body, and soul. When we're talking about our most precious entity in our state, our 280,000 young people, we have to keep their voices alive in all that we do. See, ladies and gentlemen, in this day and age, we spend a lot of time talking about data. We talk about numbers and assessments. So I challenge you the next time you have your conversations about the very important aspect of our profession, the data, that you keep in mind that each one of those data points represents what? A child. So let me say to you, as we begin this conversation and journey, in order to teach a child well, you must know a child well. Let me say that again, and if you walk away with nothing else from these next several days, I want you to walk away with that one thought. And I want you to reflect on that thought and what it means. In order to teach a child well, you must know a child well. So I bear to you my heart and soul today. When I'm working with my most troubled youth, in my previous role as a lifelong educator and a life dedicated, a purpose-driven life dedicated to making a difference in the lives of children. And if you're about children, they will know. They will know by your actions and the way you conduct yourself if you're about children. But my life is I've made a chosen point as a purpose-driven life to make a difference in the lives of children. And I bear with you today my heart and soul so that you know me better as a person. As your state superintendent, I'm driven by one uncompromising purpose: to make a difference in the lives of children. Because in this day and age, we can't just focus in on the curriculum and the content and the pedagogy. It's important, and it drives academic achievement. But if we haven't recognized now more than ever the importance of taking care of the whole child in what we do, the aspect of academic achievement is not maximized. So no one cares what you know until they know you care. You heard that before? No one cares what you know until they know you care. In order to teach a child well, you must know a child well. So I tell you my own experiences. As people say today, as I'm working with my most troubled youth in my time, regardless of what position I've ever been in, and I've had a blessed career, the ability to be in positions where I can make a difference. and the ability to be assigned and selected to be the 30th state superintendent position in West Virginia is quite an honor. But I'm also humbled and reminded every day that I'm a servant leader, that I lead to serve our 280,000 students who are counting on us every day. And as I'm speaking to you, I want you to think of those faces of our babies in our communities and what you do for them that allows them to be able to overcome their obstacles. And so I've started to say this 2 times, and I'm going to finish my thought. When I'm working with my most troubled young people, I sit down and I say, I want to be open. I open my arms. I want your feedback. Because as individuals, we are trained to judge. We are trained to pass opinion. And in the first 5 seconds of an interaction with an individual, we formulated an opinion. When I walked up to the stage today, you immediately did that with me. New guy, who is he? How do you say his name? Well, we'll talk about that at another time. I've been called everything from Maserati to marshmallow maraschino cherry. That's another side. I find it, quite frankly, a great icebreaker. How many versions of my name I've had this week? Who's the new guy? Is he one of us? Does he care about us? Does he know who we are? So as I do that, I want you to know who I am. You made that judgment on me. You probably said, new guy, got a suit on, got a red tie, dressed up. But the reality is, there's more to us than what appears to the surface. So when I'm working with my most troubled individuals, I would say, with children who are destined and preordained with a life that has many risk factors, it says, based upon data, they're going to drop out of school. They've got every odd against them. And as I listen to them, they need to feel that they're not alone. So I open my arms and say, what if I told you that when I was your age, that my mother died when I was 10, that my father had difficulty managing 2 young children at a very young age. When she was 33, she passed. He was 36. He had difficulty struggling with the death of his wife, the love of his life. Recognizing he now was a widow, had 2 young children, could not cope. Through a source of stresses, created poverty, loss of jobs, and ultimately the loss of his 2 children to foster care. Leading a life that had poverty involved with it, free and reduced lunch, not knowing how the concerns were going to be in terms of the stressors of the home life, and then expected to perform well in school. What if I told you I was that child? Would you believe it? The reality is, that's my story. And to whom much is given, much is expected. My life has been dedicated to serving children, because during those darkest days of my upbringing, there were adults in my life who cared about me. It wasn't the ones who taught me the quadratic equation. It wasn't the ones who taught me the periodic table of elements. But it were the ones who said, hey, Mike, how you doing? How are your struggles? Looks like you're hungry. Did you eat? Here's an apple for you out of my lunch, because I know what you're going through. Connecting with the heart. Those are the people that I'm naturally attracted to. And so all the work that we do every day, there's a fight that's going on. A fight for children, where schools need to be viewed as places of hope and opportunity, not places where they are barriers. All children can and will learn and need to feel as if they can, not because they come of poverty and those children are relegated to the sideline. or young people who are from a different race or culture, and they're pushed to the sideline. See, in West Virginia, we care about our children. We care about the importance of making a difference in the lives of our young people. And all children matter. So I tell this story, I have great patience. And I have to practice that every day. It is a skill. And I've only lost my patience and temper one time in my whole professional career. And it was with a teacher that I was having an observation with in a classroom as a principal, and she said to me the following words: Dr. Martirano, if you just got rid of those children, my classroom would be all the better. Now, based upon the story I just told you, and now as we get to know each other, something I failed to tell you, that I'm Irish and Italian. So let your mind wander a little bit. I've been in anger management since birth. So with that genetic DNA, and as feisty as I am, little skinny man with a big mouth and a heavy sense of values, I said, tell me about those children. Is it because they don't dress in the designer clothes that you're accustomed to, maybe, in your family? Is it because they come from poverty and they may not be as clean as you would expect? Because I was one of those children. And if somebody treated me the way you're treating these children, my babies, I wouldn't have the life of which I have today. Safe to say that individual is no longer in the teaching profession. Because individuals such as that should not be working with children. If you have a belief that all children, if you believe all children can and will learn, those are the individuals I want in my life. If you have a value system that says you don't believe all children can and will learn, you need to check yourself out. You need to have that moment with yourself. Because at the end of the day, I want our lives to be defined in terms of the work that we did with kids. So when we talk about the whole child, how do we educate any other way? There is no question that we've got a very clear vision for our state. There is no question that we have articulated that in a very clear manner across this state. One voice, one focus, all students achieving. And notice the operative words in that statement. What is the most operative word in that statement? All. When you have that value system and you say all, that means we mean all. Not just some, but all. All students achieving. And through intensive work and research, where we are now in the 21st century as educators, we know what works. And in a clearly delineated 10 points of priority under 4 pillars, I want you to intimately get involved with those pillars. We've delineated 10 clear, focused issues that need to be tended to. Not in isolation, but simultaneously. So my conviction is based upon the fact that I want every young person in West Virginia graduating from high school, college, and career ready. Individual said to me, Dr. Martirano, you're introducing a very commonsensical back to basics plan for education. When did it ever go to vote? When did we not want kids graduating from high school? When did we say it was okay for some kids to drop out of school? Where did we ever say that it's okay for kids not to attend school? You know, I come again from a background that says no matter what your chosen lot is in life, work hard every day, show up, and great things will happen. So attendance matters. Those of you with that responsibility, attendance matters. I need my babies in school every day. And we need to ensure that what's occurring in our schools is providing the supports necessary for the maturation and development process for our children. The whole child being connected to the educational process. Learning is a lifelong process, It's a 365-day event. It's not just relegated to 180 days. Those of you who understand the psychology of learning know it never stops. And you also know the fact that if you do the math, young people today from pre-K through 12 spend 9% of their time in school. Think about that, what I just said. From grades pre-K through 12, they only spend 9% of their time actually in schoolhouses. The rest of their time is spent with families, on weekends, in summer, at home, in communities and churches. But what are we expected to do? 100% of the work in 9% of the time. That's just the given. Those are the challenges. We can't change that structure. So with a level of intensity, as I started off as a young idealistic educator, and I'm very still idealistic and extremely hopeful and optimistic, I went into the teaching profession with the understanding that I was going to be the best person I could be in terms of science and math teacher. I wanted to understand the curriculum, the pedagogy, and everything that went along with it. As an instructional leader, as I became a principal, I was told that I needed to be an instructional leader, but then a little thing started creeping in. The world started shifting. We had some really tragic events. Oklahoma City bombing, Columbine, 9/11, Paducah, Kentucky, a variety of national events, not to mention Newtown. And then we started having conversations about this. Safe and orderly environments. So now the expectation, instructional leadership, but safe and orderly environments. So here's how I've shifted. I've shifted to say, first and foremost, we have to have safe, orderly environments before we can have quality instructional programs occurring in schools. We have to tend to all the skills, soft skills, hard skills, however you want to define them, that support the overall child, the whole child. So if a child, as I would always sit in my school when I was a principal of a very large urban high school in Maryland with 2,400 kids, very diverse, with lots of kids from a variety of backgrounds, I would stand at the door and trained to do this. Stand at the door, and those 2,400 kids coming in, my goal was that they would have first contact would be with me as the principal. And my eye contact was right there with them. I would be looking and scanning and saying, this one's agitated, grab him, pull him over here. Get this one over here, something's going on, this one's crying, there's a girl fight going on over here, get him. Get him now, because I know that if I don't, what's going to happen? Drama, chase another llama. We know that. We're going to be there all day. So grab it and diffuse. Now, one of my degrees, one of my backgrounds, I'm a counselor. I have a background in counseling. I know kids, and I mean, imagine my own 3 kids. Oh, I feel so sorry for them. If you ever get to meet them, oh my gosh, just congratulate them. You're their child, his child. Oh, thank you. They had to deal with all this because I would tune in, I would listen. But the reality is, tune into them as whole children, not just the academic focus. So those kids that I'm symbolically saying I pulled aside, there was other things going on. The kid crying over here, mom and dad just announced to her that they were getting a divorce. Kids over here, encouraged to fight by their parents, didn't want to fight. Kid over here was threatened last night and had a big mark on his head from his dad who had a belt mark on his head. This is the reality of our kids. And we can't ignore that. Kids who've not been tended to medically, who have dental issues, who have health issues, and then we expect them all to learn. And then think of the language we use. Go home tonight, turn on your desk light, on your desk, sit quietly, and do your homework. Now I say that to make an effect. But we've made some assumptions by that statement that I just said. I just assumed that every child goes home to a house that has electricity, running water, has their own bedroom, has a desk, and has a desk lamp. Well, my reality is I've had plenty of kids who didn't know where their next meal was coming from, didn't know who was going to be there at night, slept behind the sofa if they had that, slept on the floor, didn't have any places to do their homework. and we expect them to be academic proficient, unless we intervene to provide other interventions to help them. So again, the work that you do is critical. I'm actually today preaching to the choir of individuals who could preach the same information back, because it's simpatico. The work you do is critical to the success of our children, to the future and well-being of our state, and what we do in terms of where our values are. So as I reflect, one of the questions that I'm asked, because it's coming up to the fact of almost a year that I've been in the position. So I guess all these pearls of wisdom people expect. So what do you think, sir? What's your observations? What's the great mystery? Have you unraveled it? What's the purpose of life? You know, goodness gracious. But what I have found, I'm going to give you some of those observations. Many of you know I hail from the mountains of Western Maryland, which is right on the border of West Virginia. I have many family members in West Virginia, and I've spent many of my day in West Virginia growing up. And what I know for certain is I've been to 28 counties. I may have interacted with some of you individually, personally, in a group. What I do know for a fact is this, that I have come to a state and have been blessed to be working in a state superintendent, where I have the awesome honor to work with individuals who care about kids, who have an incredible work ethic, who are willing to do whatever it takes. At the same time, acknowledging the challenges. Are our jobs easy? Heck no. Heck no. But keep in mind, if it were easy, anybody could do it. If it were easy, anybody could do it. So I have such great respect and admiration for the people in this room and our educators in our state, because you're champions of children. You're working every day on behalf of our kids. And never losing sight of the fact that before we can get to that very important essence of instruction and achievement and graduation rates, embedded in our plan, our One Voice Focus All Students Achieving plan, is the fact of taking care of kids. Making certain children are fed, that we've set systems up where our children are receiving lunch and breakfast. I was in Nicholas County this past week, and I interacted with 2 angels who are in the community working every day to provide weekend bags of food for children who they know aren't going to be fed over the weekend. Individuals who are on their own trying to raise funds to provide that bridge during the summer when kids aren't in school. That's the kind of folk that I'm attracted to, who put kids first in all the decisions. And so, as I try to summarize this in the sense of the theory, we talk a lot about IQ, intelligent quotient. But I want to remind us about the importance of the other quotient, which is what I define as the EQ, the emotional quotient. And we need to take care of the emotional quotient every day in terms of the social emotional learning that's occurring in our schools. And providing tools to our children in ways that advance that. So many programs that we're putting in place to create healthy choices, problem solving that diffuses problems, reduction of bullying, how to treat children, how to treat each other, how to work interpersonally together. Because in this day and age, if we can't work together and take care of each other, what's left? What's left? I mean, I have such resolve in the fact of the human condition in terms of it being good. Amidst all the cacophony of noise that we hear on the TV all day, tell all the positive stories that are going on. Tell all the work that's going on. So, my goal with you today has been simple. simply put, to be with you, to be in an environment with you, to connect with you at the heart, to connect with you at the level of now more than ever, children need more champions to care for them, to connect with them, to be a part of their life. God only knows they have enough friends. With social media, how can you have 15,000 friends? They need adults who care about them, and children need to know you care about them. So as I go around our great state, and I've been to about 28 counties, all of you probably know I'm spending lots of time talking to kids. No offense to the adults. I love our teachers. I love all of you. I will talk to you, but if a child comes in my presence, I just naturally go there. It's who I am. I'm hardwired. It's on my DNA. I listen to the voices of children. And I ask you to do the same too. Children will tell you what they need, what they want. And when I ask them, what is it about your school that makes it a great place for you to be? The first thing they tell me consistently is the fact that we have adults who care about us. Adults who take care of us and make us feel safe. Adults who care about us, who make us feel safe and respect us and treat us with kindness. And if you haven't figured this out, children are so wonderful to work with. If you show them that you care, regardless of how tough the child is, you can break that exterior down with goodness and kindness. Every day I wake up with the thought, I'm going to treat people with kindness. I wish others would wake up with the same impression how they want to treat me. But it's a gift to be able to say in your challenging moments to express that level of kindness and goodness. And kids will respond. If they know you care, they will jump through hoops for you. And they know. I used the expression earlier. If you are about kids, they will know. They will know. I don't have to tell you that I'm about kids. Today I'll tell you I'm about kids. But if we're interacting with kids, you just know. And I knew instinctively. I was telling my wife this over the weekend. I come from this very large family, of 20 aunts and uncles, Italian and Irish side. And I knew early on that I had some really loving aunts and uncles, but I had some ones over here. As 5 years old, I remember being slapped on the hand by my aunt, saying, "Don't pick up that fork until I tell you." I remember that. To this day, I'm 55, 50 years later. I said, she's not nice. God rest her soul, never speak ill of the dead. But I said that. I knew instinctively. Kids know whether you're real or you're not, whether you care about them or you don't, and they're going to jump through hoops. If you tell them we're going to memorize the quadratic equation and provide all kinds of applications, yes, we are. I don't know what it is, but we're going to do it because we trust you. We trust you and you care. And isn't that what we want in people that we work with? To know that somebody cares about us and we're connected. So I'm speaking to the choir of caring champions for children. The group of individuals that if this group can't bring it all together, who does? KidStrong. KidStrong all day long. In all aspects of wellness, mental health, physical health, well-being, taking care of ourselves and taking care of our kids. That's the value that I want to be promoting. Talking about the importance of all that as it adds in to everything else. I want every child graduating from high school, college, and career ready. Well, I better take care of my babies. Give them that belief system that you can make it. So that we're not practicing malpractice every day by saying, here's the door. That I've worked with people like it. Here's the door. Let me help you drop out. Let me help you drop out. So let me end where I began. And I hope some of this resonates with you today. Because really what I've said today should be no great revelations. It should be how we conduct ourselves as human beings with each other, how we take care of the human race, how we take care of each other, and take care of our future. So where I started, symbolically, in order to teach a child well, you must know a child well. I end with the same message. In order to teach a child well, you must know a child well. So to maximize your experience over these next several days, you're going to have lots of workshops. Challenge each other to say, that very energetic guy who talked to us, our new state superintendent, he asked us to put in our face and in our mind the face of a child. Keep the voice in the face of a child in front of everything that you're doing this week and personalize this learning experience. Reconnect with your inner self of why you're in the work and doing the work of what you're doing. Why it brings you that place where you go, that place of joy. Amidst all the challenges I know that are there. They're going to be there, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to be there. But how do we find that joy amidst all the challenges? And reconnect with the work that we're doing. Because, ladies and gentlemen, it is a higher purpose that I want you to go to. It's a higher purpose of which I want you to stay in. That bolsters me every day knowing I'm working with people like you, students who count on us, 280,000, that drives the work. And so I thank you for your participation in this event. I thank you for your support. I thank you for all that you do to help our children. And although I may not see you every day, although I may not have another interaction with you for a while, if you do see me, find a way to connect with me as well. Because when all of us are working together around a common purpose and a common vision and belief, the load is lightened. And to know that from whatever position we have, that there's a unifying vision and connection, that's what bolsters me. Thank you for your time. It has been an honor and a privilege to talk to all of you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.